All right, Mr. Chairman, we're live and the meeting is live.
Thank you, Keith. Good evening. I would like to call the February 28th, 2022 special meeting of the Dare County Board of Education to order. The time is 5 p.m. We are meeting virtually consistent with Board Policy 2302, Section G. The meeting is being live streamed on the Dare County Schools website for those interested in joining us. As a quick review on protocols for a remote meeting, all participants will be asked to identify themselves for the purpose of attendance and establishing a quorum. All votes will be done through roll call. Participants will remain muted until recognized by the chair to speak. Board members may unmute to make a motion or request the chair recognize him or her to speak during discussion. Individuals should state their name when making a motion. We will now call the roll. Please unmute and respond when your name is called. Vice Chair David Twitty.
Here.
Mary Ellen Bounce.
Here.
Susan Bothwell.
Present.
Frank Hester.
Here.
Margaret Lawler.
Present.
Carl Woody.
Here.
Let the record reflect that the full board is present and we have a quorum. Also present are Superintendent Dr. John Farley, Associate Superintendent Sandy Kinzel, Attorney Richard Schwartz, Dr. Keith Parker, and helping with the live streaming of the meeting, Aaron Jennings. The first order of business this evening is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move we approve the agenda.
A motion by Susan Bothwell. Is there a second?
Second.
Pick
A
one.
second by Margaret Lawler. We have a motion by Susan Bothwell and a second by Margaret Lawler to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the roll call vote. Those in favor will say aye or nay when called upon. David Twitty,
Aye.
Mary Ellen Bounce,
Aye.
Susan Bothwell,
Aye.
Frank Hester,
Aye.
Margaret Lawler,
Aye.
Carl Woody,
Aye.
Joe Tauber, aye. The agenda has been approved. The first and only item on the agenda is presentation and discussion of proposed revisions to Board Policy 2340, Board Meeting Procedures. And I'll turn the meeting over to Sandy Kinzel, Associate Superintendent, for a brief overview of the proposed revisions for the board.
Good evening, Chairman Tauber, Vice Chairman Twitty, members of the board, and Dr. Farley. Shortly after the February Board of Education meeting, the Policy Committee was contacted with a request to formally amend Policy 2340, Board Meeting Procedures, to include additional guidelines in Section F, Public Address. Public Address to the Board is the full title. Suggestions were inserted, and a draft was sent to our attorneys and then to the Policy Committee for feedback. The final draft of the amended policy was included in the agenda packet that was sent to the board last Friday. The amendments to Policy 2340 being presented this evening fall under Section F, Public Address to the Board. With the board's and the chairman's permission, I will then go through each of the guidelines that have been amended so that we can have full discussion afterwards.
Please do so.
Thank you. So guideline number 2, the proposed amendment guideline regarding sign up for public comment reads, a sign up sheet shall be available at the board meeting. Priority for speaking generally shall be on a first come, first served basis. And added to this guideline is the language that states substitute speakers will not be permitted and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. Proposed new number 3 guideline reads, if a speaker wishes to submit documents to the board as part of the public comment portion of the board meeting, the speaker shall submit the documents to the designee who distributes and collects the public comment sign-up form prior to the start of the meeting, or they may leave the documents at the speaker's podium when they address the board. The proposed new number 4 guideline reads, at no time during public comment or any other time during the board meeting will a speaker or meeting attendee approach the board table unless invited to do so by the chairperson. Any person who fails to comply with this provision will be removed from the meeting. Renumbered and proposed guideline number 7 reads, obscene, vulgar, indecent, abusive, threatening, or profane language or statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or eminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting will not be allowed. The chairman may control or limit discussion if necessary to enforce this provision. And the language added to this guideline is to maintain order. Renumbered and proposed guideline number 10 in this section reads, anyone attending a board meeting will abide by the guidelines outlined above. Actions that violate these guidelines and or disrupt the orderly operation of a meeting may result in the disruptive individuals being directed to leave by the presiding officer and or being removed from the premises. Failure to vacate the meeting after being directed as is a criminal offense in violation of North Carolina General Statute 14-288.4 and General Statute 143-318.17. Finally, Section G, placement and use of recording equipment during open meetings, has been added and reads as follows. Any person desiring to film or record any part of any open meeting may do so in a manner that is not disruptive or distractive to the conduct of the meeting. No recording devices or equipment shall be attached to the board's audiovisual equipment or placed on the podium. Filming or recording shall be done using a fixed camera position no closer than 10 feet from the podium and no closer than 20 feet from the board's dais. Wiring for any recording devices or equipment must be secured in a place so as not to pose a hazard to anyone approaching or leaving the podium. Sections that follow this addition have been reassigned to maintain order within the policy with no changes in the content thereafter. Chairman Tauber, the amended policy is being presented to the board for approval this evening.
Thank you, Sandy. I will now open the floor for the board to discuss the proposed revisions. Any board members have any comments on these revisions?
Mr. Chair, question to Richard or Sandy. Do we need to waive first reading, or can we just amend the policy without having to do any of that?
There's no requirement for 2 readings for a policy amendment. You can approve it tonight.
Okay.
Any other further discussion?
I have a question on number 4. We say any person who fails to comply with this provision will be removed from the meeting. Should it say be removed from the meeting and the building? Or does the other number 10 cover that?
Well, 10 does say that they'll be removed from the premises. I don't.
Right.
Does it cover it, Richard?
I think we're covered. What
Okay.
we're dealing with primarily is the meeting.
Okay, fine. That's good.
Yeah.
Does that satisfy you, Margaret?
Yep. Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other further discussion?
Would that need to say in addition to Margaret's question, that it be any person who fails to comply would be removed from the meeting at the direction of the chair? Because who's making the decision that they need to go?
What say you, Richard?
I don't think we need to have that at the direction of the chair. This is a, more instantaneous thing. If somebody's rushing the table, this would be
Okay.
one person stepping in.
Oh, okay.
Everybody
But,
satisfied with that?
The direction of the chair would soon follow or be simultaneous.
All right. Everybody satisfied?
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Okay. According to public policy number 2420, adoption of policies, amendments may be proposed by board members. An amendment will not require that the policy go through an additional reading, except as the board determines that the amendment needs further study and that an additional reading would be desirable. This policy may be approved without 2 readings or invoking the suspension of policy. If there's no further discussion, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the proposed revisions to policy 2340, board meeting procedures as presented.
Mr. Chair, I have one question. I lost connectivity for a little bit, and this is Frank Hester, and this may already been addressed. When they're talking about the removal of the person, I know at the start of the meeting, we outline the ground rules for how people, what our ground rules are. I suspect that you could serve as a reminder to them that this behavior would invoke them having to leave the building, or is that just understood? Is there any sort of warning signal that you crossed the line and it's over, or what?
Well, the public comment, prior to public comment, we do make a statement in that regard as well.
Correct.
So anything you want to add to that, Richard?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would suggest that we revise the public comment statement that's read to add in this requirement about approaching the board dais.
I'm assuming that will be done before our next meeting.
Yes.
On the 8th of March.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes. If Sandy, can you forward that statement to me and I'll knock it up?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Anything else in reference to the proposed amendments to the policy? Okay. All right. Let's see. Do we have anybody make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve the revisions to policy code 2340, board meeting procedures.
Okay, motion
Second.
by Mary Ellen Bounce, a second by
Susan Bothwell.
Susan Bothwell. Okay. Any discussion? If not, I'll call the roll for the vote. Those in favor of approving the revisions to policy 2340, board meeting procedures as presented, will say aye or nay when called upon. David Twitty?
Aye.
Mary Ellen Bounce?
Aye.
Susan Bothwell?
Aye.
Frank Hester?
Aye.
Margaret Lawler?
Aye.
Carl Woody?
Aye.
Joe Tauber? Aye. Motion carries to revise policy 2340 as read. This concludes our special meeting for this afternoon. I would like to request a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Motion by Margaret Lawler. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll
Frank Hester.
Second by Frank Hester. We have a motion by Margaret Lawler and a second by Frank Hester to adjourn. Again, I'll ask for aye or nay when calling upon each member. David Twitty?
Aye.
Mary Ellen Bounce?
Aye.
Susan Bothwell?
Aye.
Frank Hester?
Aye.
Margaret Lawler?
Aye.
Carl Woody?
Aye.
Joe Tauber? Aye. Motion passes. We are now adjourned. Thank you for all your being present and appreciate your input.
Bye.